Two Sides, the Carry-On Circle. Chapter 15. The Final. 1 minute Antonio had the strength to stand, then the next moment 3 men tackled him to the floor. It was officially 1 a.m. and way past the complex's quiet hours. Everyone was screaming at the top of their lungs, cheering, but also at Antonio. He laid face down on the floor. Defeated. Salia rushed over to check on him while Gabriel remained in the corner. He is burning up. Babe, get me a cold towel. Salia shouted. Okay, this isn't good because we can't take him to jail like this. Scott said. Why not? We caught him, isn't that what matters? Justin said. No, we can't just let him suffer in there. Dewey added. That's the other part of being a bounty hunter, having a heart. That's where you and your brother differ in skill. Scott explained. Roll him over so she can care for him, he ordered. Salia crouched down and placed the cool towel on his forehead. Once in a while Antonio would cold shiver but didn't have anything to say. Salia turned to Antonio. I'm sorry brother, I had to do this for your safety and our family. Antonio lifted his head and looked into her eyes. He slowly looked at everyone one by one, lastly at his dad, then back at his sister. He shouted, how could you let this happen? Salia felt pricks in the back of her eyes. Antonio tried to get up but his body weighed him down. He continued yelling, this never would have happened dash. Okay, nope. Scott shouted as him and the boys picked him up off the ground. You aren't going to talk to a woman like that. Scott yelled back. Antonio began laughing. You wouldn't know the first thing about that. He shook his head. Really? You want to go there? Justin, Dewey, take him down to the cars. Salia's tears rolled down her face as she watched her brother be taken away in handcuffs. Gabriel hasn't said one word throughout this whole thing. One by one they headed out the condo and down the stairs. Scott and Tim were the last two with Gabriel. You sure suck as a father. Tim said. Scott scoffed as well. To see your son suffer like that and you do nothing, he should be the one who gets to walk free because his father is a monster. The door slammed behind the Bounties and now Gabriel once again was alone in the condo. There was no saying what he might do or what might happen to him, but it's probably not going to be a fairy tale ending. Salia's husband hugged her tight as they loaded Antonio into the car. When given the clear she walked to the edge of the car and whispered, I'm afraid you won't make it. Our family has made a lot of enemies who are paying the price for us. If you don't believe in God you better start now and beg him to have mercy. Antonio kept looking forward but replied, if I was afraid I wouldn't have done half the things I've done. He lowered his voice, I am a believer now because he let me say goodbye to Mom. What? Salia asked. We need to roll out. Family, say your final goodbyes, then we will be on our way. Scott told. Salia hugged him one last time and her husband did a nod of acknowledgement. She whispered something in his ear so quiet only a mouse could hear. Don't worry, your legacy will be kept alive. Everything always works out for us, so this is just a little ripple in the water. Dad will find a way to get you out. Antonio didn't smile, just nodded once. Scott and Beth sat in between Antonio. He couldn't help but worry a little bit. Beth tried to start small talk but was successful. Scott chuckled, you truly are a dog man. They say drug addicts are not smart, but you are the hardest we ever have had to hunt for someone. Antonio grinned, it's an art. You wouldn't know anything about it though. Okay, smart ass. You know what, I shouldn't be showing mercy on you considering what happened, but that would get us nowhere. Antonio knew exactly what he meant. It wasn't the long chase or running amok around the city. It was Jacob. Antonio responded, I didn't think I would ever have the chance or heart to say this, but I'm sorry about what happened to Jacob. He was one of my best friends and what happened was never supposed to happen. Never did I think I would hear those words either. Antonio, I know I can't forgive you, but at the same time it's been over a decade and the only way to move on and heal is to forgive. I'll admit I wanted you dead from the beginning, but I can only wish you the best. As they pulled up to the jail, Antonio felt a lump in his throat. He had promised so many people that they would never be here even though he knew deep down he could guarantee that promise. He would throw anyone under the bus to go to the slammer in order to keep himself out of there. Never did he think he would be back here doing real time. Scott and Beth helped him out of the car. As both of his feet plodded on the jail's property, he had this unsettling feeling. It's like he could already hear the bangs and screams coming from inside the cells of people waiting for his arrival. His footsteps were pounding in his ears with every step he took. The pain of withdrawal still present and fate about to come, he felt himself wanting to pull away. What would happen if he broke free from Scott and Justin holding him and just took off running? What if he ran so fast they couldn't catch him? What if he could get a second chance on his life? All of that sounded nice, but as the door opened and the jail air hit him, he had to forget all his past tactics. The guard's jaws were to the floor when Antonio took his first steps into intake. Never did they think they would see the day where Antonio would be entering a jail. No matter how hard it was going to be, Antonio promised himself that he wanted to be a changed man. Getting clean and doing time would be the way to fix that. Once he completes his sentence, he won't even be recognizable as Antonio Mendoza. At least that's what he was going to tell the judge. The end. Hello. Brooke here. As we near the end, I just wanted to thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the story, and if you are interested in actually getting the books, they are available on Amazon. The direct link to my library is in the description. Also make sure to check out the other perspective to this story, Two Sides, Spiteful and Determined, which is the side of the bounty hunters. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next book.